Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Elite Real Estate Podcast on another fantastic Friday morning here. And so whether you listen to us now or listen to us later, it's a big thing. So we're live on KGCI Radio, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the places you can find the podcast. And if you're listening to us later, you found us on Apple or Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you can find the podcast. So I appreciate you joining us again. Another week in the books and another special guest coming up for us here soon. So, again, guys, live on all the spots we can find us and go from there. So, as I'm bringing up some other things here, very excited to have this special guest on with us today. And I'm going to let him introduce himself here in a second. But we met at an event a little while back that was this very special event to both of us and to a lot of men in general. But it was a men's health and mental wellness seminar, and we had a great discussion there and hit it off. And so I was happy to get him on. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Mr. Lindsberg Pettway Jr. How are you, my friend? I am good, man. I am good. I'm super excited to get you on here this morning. And as I'm bringing some other things on here, right? I want you to talk to me about Lindsberg, man. Where I know you're a car guy, right? But you're a sales guy, but you're a health and wellness guy, and I'm super excited to get to know you better. But explain yourself, like, how did you get started? Where did you come from, and go from there? So you were a tough kid. All type of stuff going on. Yeah, man. It's an incredible story, man. And again, it's like it's humbling because if, for those of you that don't know Detroit, right? Like I grew up in Detroit, so I grew up at 9 in Van Dyke, which is a little bit different than 7 in DeQuinder, but not much. um, but it's a humbling experience, man. And then again, to be able to come back home, then right, and come back home, Alabama State. Like my family's all from Alabama originally. We're big Alabama fans, but to be able to come back home and now work in the city that you grew up in, and give back. I think that's one of the biggest things about what any of us can do at this point. man, and we always think we have the plan figured out, and then God says, "No, I got a different plan for you." Well, there's a little pain to get a little farther, right? That's we've all felt it at some point. And then so then you spent 16 years as an educator though, right? I mean, working in the school and yeah. Okay. Yeah. And again, and then God had other plans. Yeah. I can imagine. I can imagine. And again, the sudden move of that, right? And what people don't understand, and I spent, 20 years coaching high school basketball and that's what I was supposed to be. I was supposed to be a social studies English teacher, right? That was going to be my thing. Um, but what a lot of people don't understand is when we're in that role, whether it's an administrator or a coach or a teacher, we love those kids, you know, and when it affects them like that, it's hard, right? It's hard on us, because we're looking out for more than just ourselves. We're looking out for our kids, right? Like, and those become our kids. Yeah, 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 right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. But God, right? Which sent you on another mission, right? And said, here, you're going to start over again. Right. Right. Yeah. And I think that's a really interesting transition too, because I find that, I've had other, and again, whether it's sales is sales, it doesn't really matter what you're selling, right? But one of the things you brought up, and I think it's the most interesting piece, is like building that relationship, because, it's like being a real estate agent. People are going to look for a house, so we got to figure out what kind of house they're looking for, what do they need, what are their wants. Same thing with a car. I need a car, right? Do I need it just to get me from to A to B and I'm good? Or do I want it like leather seats and heated seats? What do I want? And it's like trying to figure out what they want. And you bring that piece up, and I think that's one of the most important things that the listeners can hear is, how do I create that relationship? Right. And I think you nailed it. Was just I just listened to what they were asking for. Yeah. And like actively listening to what they what they want. Yeah, and again, that's we're gonna dive into that too, because I want to hear more. Like because you've developed, and now you've developed you put yourself back into a coaching role. Yeah, it's funny how we can do that at 52 now, right? Oh man, I feel that so much, because it's the same thing. Like, and my wife will say to me, she's like, "How many? What is this followers thing? You know what I mean? Like, what is?" I'm like, I need more followers. Yeah. Yeah, and that's big, and because the sales again, there's this always this negative connotation around being a salesman, right? Car well, and then agents. I think real estate agents fall even underneath the car salesman guy. But we're in that same realm, and it's like, oh, just sell me the car. It's like, but how do I take care of that client, right? How do I take care of that consumer at a high level? And that's one thing you figured out was like, if I take care of people at a high level, they're going to come back to me. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and say something I'm interested there too because again, salespeople we always tend to focus on like the negative, and you said you had 30 opportunities but sold 20 cars, right? But that missing out on 10 is not a negative. It just is what it is, and my goal is 20. Yeah, my goal is 20 a month, right? But I need 30 opportunities to sell 20. Yeah, and I think that's one thing that salespeople miss on a lot too is like how many. I always coach agents on how many no's does it take to get to a yes, right? How many people are going to tell me no? Before, if it's 8, 9, 10, whatever, I know the next one is going to be a yes, right? I'm going to get a yes out of there somewhere, and I think that's the thing. And for you, and as when you first started, you said your first month you did 16, and then every month after you just started 20. But what did that feel like that first month doing 16? And what were the other salespeople thinking? Yeah. 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 It sounds eerily similar to real estate, Lindsberg. It's you know we get this, we get a license, you go to a broker, they sit you on the phone, they tell you to call people. It's kind of like we got to fend for ourselves a little bit. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. So true, man. And again, like one of the things you touched on too, and I want to go back to that, is like you have to be coachable. You know, and it doesn't matter at what level you're at. Like I have to be coachable, you have to be coachable, even though we're leading people, right? And you knew this from being a principal, right? Like there was yeah, you yeah, always. And it again, it doesn't matter what level you're at. You always need to be learning. Like and I always brought this up with like athletes, right? Tom Brady, potentially whoever you can argue the best quarterback ever, right? There's either goat, whatever. But at one point, he had 7 coaches, right? He had a nutrition coach, he had a weightlifting coach, he had a speed coach, he had a throwing coach, he had, the list goes on. And even I always bring up like Denzel Washington, right? Like Denzel, one of the best actors we've all seen, still has an acting coach. Like, what does Denzel need an acting coach for? He should be doing that on his own. But he does it because he has to have that accountability and someone to say, hey, you could be better than yesterday. Yeah, yeah. And now that you bring that, so my son, my youngest, is going to be a freshman at De La Salle. So, so that whole Catholic League thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. Oh man, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I was just out there for basketball a couple weeks ago. Um, yeah, and but yeah, it's again, it's being coachable, and again, it's that accountability piece that we miss so much as salespeople because, like you said, when you first went in, they just set you at a desk and said, here's what to do, and you being Lindsberg, right? You just started talking to people, right, and just made conversation and started to figure some things out. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we needed in any sales industry is honestly like people like us that will help now, right? We figured some things out. We knocked our head against the wall a bunch of times. Let's help you not knock your head against the wall. Let's get you straightened out, right? Yeah, yeah. And so then you're in your for real brand, right? So that's your personal training brand, but now you've taken that to another level with some coaching and training for salespeople, correct? Yeah. Oh man, I love it. And again, it's stuff people need, right? You have the ability to give back, right? But it's you're giving things out. You're giving back to what people need and want. And it's not as it's we talk about it in a sales sense, but it's deeper than that, and it's really a lifestyle. Yeah, yeah, and it was one of the things we talked about at the men's event, right? Is you sometimes you're out there and you put on, like we talked about, putting on your super suit, right? And you put that super suit on, and you're Lindsberg, and you're the for real, and you're selling cars, and you're doing your things, and then you, like we talked about, Sean talked about it, right? Then you come home and take the garbage out, right? Yeah. Yeah, because she was running the kids out to CC for football practice, and like didn't it wasn't home. You know what I mean? Like it's again it's that it's but then again, you just come home and you just do what you're supposed to do. You know, that's keep it for real. I love it. So Feldman Chevrolet, and so it's and you're in Livonia, right? Yeah, and so is it 20 cars a month? Is that your your goal every month? Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah, no, definitely, and that's a yeah, again, as you're growing and developing into this industry of sales, and whether that's cars or real estate, it's this a lot of the hurdles are the same, right? And then as you grow and develop, how can I expand? How can I help other people? And one of the things that I found, and I'm guessing you have too, but I'm gonna let you talk about it. But is do you find that it's the more you give, right? The more knowledge I give out, the more I receive. Yeah, yeah, and again, it's but God, right? It's what that's what. um, but it, but again, it's that it comes back to your personality too, and I think that again, we talk about raising boys and raising kids, and again, then but having the ability to, like you said, you were an educator for those years, and now Your students are 35, right? And I understand that part because I've got same thing. I've got basketball kids that are now coaching. Actually, one is coaching at De La Salle that I coached in high school. So, um, you know, and so he potentially would be coaching my son. So it's kind of a full circle moment, right? And but again, it goes back to if you're just doing the right thing, right? If you just do the right things will start happening to you. Now, it's always right. It's always right. Now, in your world, what are some you were talking about negotiations in your world in the auto world? What are some of the biggest hurdles you have with clients as far as like them, saying no or them wanting this or wanting that? What are some of the biggest like objections you're getting in that world? Sure, sure. Yeah, and again, for us as real estate agents, like people want the $500,000 house, right? But they want the $1,000 payment. I'm like, well, that doesn't unless you're going to get this loan for the next 100 years. you know, yeah. I got to sell more cars. Yeah, and again, it's true. It's again, it's overcoming that. But one of the things, and I really want you appreciate about you is one of the things that you always go back to is the relationship that you built, and this is what I want people to hear, right? The relationship you've built, and explaining to people very clearly the honest truth, right? Yeah, I know you want the Equinox, but here's the tracks because you can't afford the Equinox, right? Like, and but it's a for a real conversation, and but you have to be able to have those conversations, like, having the honest, true conversation with people is so important in our industries, right? It doesn't, and sales in general, and that's where we get the bad news. That's where we get this bad connotation of being salespeople, is the people that are out there that aren't doing it right. Yeah, and again, that is super important, is what you said, right? It's taking care of people at a high level. It doesn't matter if what they bought, it was they bought it from you. So you were going to uh take care of that at a high level. And that is going to that then that's what people have to understand. That's what's going to get you three more sales next month, right? Because he's going to send somebody to you. And let me ask you this question, because you get so much repeat business. Are you staying in front of your clients then too? Like, are you you target them, your repeat clients? You talk to them and say, hey, refer me, or well, or do you ask for referrals? Because that was what's one of the biggest things. Yeah, yeah. No, that's a beautiful thing, right? Uh, Q said, "Morning, fellas." um, but yeah, it's again the automation thing, and again, it's so important. That itself is so important, because you know you're trying to sell cars today. It's like, how do I want, but I want repeat clients, right? And so, like you said, using your CRM, and salespeople ask me all the time, what's the best CRM? What's the best CRM? And well, the one you use, that's it. Yeah, that investment in yourself is one that's one thing we miss out on. That's one we skimp on ourselves too much. Mm-hmm. Oh, we lost him. There he comes back. There you are. But yeah, it's finding the rhythm and yeah. Yeah, and I don't talk about a work life balance. I talk about a work life blend. Yeah. Because there isn't a balance. Not with what we chose to do. Yeah. And Q said too, he said, I agree as a consumer, I love being remembered that I made a purchase from you. Right. And again, when we can remember that is gold for salespeople. And that's another great message from you this morning is like staying remembered, right? Being coachable, doing all the right things, and again, finding out, creating that relationship, and finding out the what people need and what they want, and and being able to explain the difference because there is a difference. You got kids and they're going to CC, so it's my oldest son asked me one time. He said, Dad, we should get a place up north, and I said, we do have one. It's a common road in Warren. That's where that's where it is. But man, but again, so what is now the future for real, and where are you taking this in the next 3 to 5 years? Where is your branding going? What's going on with that? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, it's a real thing, and it's hard lessons for us all to learn, and I feel like well, my good friend Al said I have kids, a convertible. He's 50 years old with a 24, 18, and a 4-year old. He said it's never too old or too late, brother. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He did. I've known Al for a long time, and yeah, that the 4-year old was like a hello. Oh man, so good. I appreciate you coming on. We got a couple minutes left, so where can everybody find you now? And I know we can find you at Feldman in Livonia. Love it. Al said his youngest name is Oops. Yeah. So guys, listen, check Lindsberg out for real. If you need a car, go see my man over in Livonia. I love it. I love it. Well, hey, my man, I appreciate you coming on with me this morning. We'll have to get you back again because these hours go by fast. People don't understand how fast these hours go. So I appreciate you. Guys, thanks again for joining me on the Elite Real Estate Podcast. Find us wherever you find podcasts, and we're live every Friday morning, again, on KGCI Radio, YouTube, Facebook, all the places you can find us. And then find us later on. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Elite Network, and find us on wherever you find podcasts. We'll talk to you guys next week. Success in our grasp, 'cause we choose our own fate. No pressure, no diamonds.